welcome. You're watching the Newshour Agenda. I'm Padmaja Joshi. There is a massive row raging in Tamil Nadu, and it was stoked with the state's governor claiming that the 2018 anti-Sterlite protests in the state were fueled by foreign funding. It was these protests that eventually led to the copper smelter plant in Thoothukudi being shut down, greatly impacting the copper production capacity of not just Tamil Nadu but all of India. Soon after the governor speaking, the DMK hit back, asking him to produce proof and even saying that this is a people's protest that was being vilified. Now the party is planning a mass protest campaign against the governor for calling the protests politically motivated and one that was fed by foreign funds.
It was a purely foreign-funded entire activities which led to the protest, unfortunate police firing, and that cost innocent lives. That is a very sad part of it. But they wanted this Sterlite to be closed because that Sterlite produced 40% of our copper need. And you know how copper is important for electronic industry.
அவர் ஆளுநர் மாலையில் உட்காந்துக்கிட்டு பேசுகிறாரு. வெளில வந்து ஒரு பொதுக்கூட்டத்திலையோ இல்லை மாணவர்கள் மத்தியிலையோ இல்லை தூத்துக்குடியிலோ போய் பேச முடியுமா? நான் சவால் விடுக்கிறேன். ஒரு 100 நாட்கள் நடந்த ஒரு போராட்டம், மிகப்பெரிய போராட்டம், ஒரு 13 பேர் சுட்டு கொண்டு இருக்காங்க. இது அதிமுக சொன்னது தானே, அவங்களும் பாஜகவோட இவரோட ஆளுநர் குரல் மாதிரி தானே. அவர் என்ன சொன்னார்? அப்போ முதலமைச்சர் இருந்தவர் தெரியாது, டிவியில் பார்த்தேன் அப்படின்னாரு. அதுக்கும் பெரிய வித்தியாசம் இல்லை. நான் இங்கே அதிகமாக அரசியல் பேச விரும்பவில்லை. இது கண்டிக்கிறோம்.
On the 100th day when the march took place, there are anti-social elements and evil forces which infiltrated into this group and instigated the common people and common men for their ulterior motives. So law has to do its duty. And the sufferers were the common men who were fighting. So the anti-evil forces are definitely has a better reach with DMK. And DMK, these anti-evil forces were hand in glove at that point of time.
They were silent for 100 days. The state government did not respond to the people's agitation for more than 100 days, and 13 people had lost their life by the killing of the police, which means who had acted in favor of Vedanta? This is another agent of Vedanta, is the governor. He is calling that. See, what if the Sterlite factory is not functioning here? Let him take it to his own state, Bihar.
So is there really a smear campaign at work? Is there a foreign agenda at play? And if yes, then who are the agents? On Wednesday, the central government also informed Parliament that it had received complaints about the other media, an NGO that in fact had organized protests and demonstrations that led to the closure of Sterlite plant. The other media was one of the main organizations at work in Thoothukudi. So let's get to the bottom of this NGO. What is this other media and why are there complaints against it? Here is what an investigation by the lead and the commune has thrown up. The other media has received funding from several suspicious sources, most of them church-funded bodies. Consider this. In 2012 and 2011, this NGO got donations from the World Association for Christian Communication, based out of Canada. In 2012, in fact, it got close to 1 lakh, and in 2011, it got 5,76,000 rupees. Around the same time, in 2011, let's take a look at another one. So 5,76,000, a little over that, is what they got in 2011 from this Canadian organization called the World Association for Christian Communication. Now let's take a look at another organization that has also contributed to the other media. We're talking about this organization from Thailand called the Christian Conference of Asia. In 2011, it made a donation of 65,160 rupees, and then it also, in addition to that, had got this organization, by the way, it represents more than 100 denominations across several countries and says it works towards social justice. Let's take a look at the big ones now. We're talking about the Catholic Organization for Relief and Development Aid, better known as CORDAID. This is based out of Netherlands. Take a look at the number of donations that have come in from Caudate, almost a total of 38 lakhs given to the other media between 2008 and 2009. Here are all of these remittances that have come in, and it almost totals up to about 38 lakh rupees. And finally, let's take a look at Troicare, which is the Overseas Development Agency of the Ireland Catholic Church. This also gave millions to this NGO in the year 2008 alone. These are all the remittances that have been given by the Irish Church organization in 2008 to this NGO. The thing is that the probe is now going to take place. Will it finally uncover the truth of the Thoothukudi protests? Is there substance in the charge that the protests were funded in order to cripple India? And if yes, was there also political complicity?
You're watching the News Hour at 10. Debate number 1 on Times Now, Super Prime Time.
All right, joining us, Sanju Verma, National Spokesperson of the BJP, A. Saravanan, Spokesperson of the DMK, C. Rajashekharan, lawyer. But I first want to go across to Sandhya Ravishankar, editor of The Lead. Sandhya, the thing is that foreign contribution is legal. Then why is there a problem with what the other media has got?
Foreign donations are generally for very sort of social activities, such as, in the field of education, for instance, or in the field of human rights, in the field of, poverty alleviation. But the money that comes in is unfortunately diverted by many such NGOs to political activism, which, could be against the ruling dispensation. And this is a problem because this money is not allowed under law to be used for political activism or for any political activity. So this is the problem as far as the other media is concerned, because it's very pretty obvious that no legitimate social activities are being carried out by the other media, whereas on the other hand, they are indulging in a lot of political activity.
But how do we know that the funds that were given by these so-called Christian organizations went into funding the Sterlite agitation?
Well, there's a pattern here that we must understand, Padmaja, and the pattern is basically that it takes a long time for an ecosystem to be built. And we have seen this in the case of how another large FCRA NGO called CSEI has put together, in 3 states, a very sort of an organization that will come out and protest and create issues as and when required by the political masters. Now, it's the same thing that has happened here. Many years have gone by and funding has flown in, and this has enabled other media and a person like Nithyanand Jayaraman, who's an office bearer of the other media. He is a very well-known face. He interacts with the media very often. He's there at the forefront of all protests, large or small, wherever it is in Tamil Nadu. And he has slowly, over a period of time, built an ecosystem of residents' welfare associations, youngsters, youth organizations, fishermen organizations, who all sort of come under his grip. He's funding them and inciting protests. So, all of this has taken a long time, and that's the only way Nithyanand Jayaraman can possibly have that amount of funding is through his association with the other media, because he's not really associated with any other NGO or any other, firm. He doesn't work for a living in that sense.
But here's the thing, that these organizations say that they are working for the environment. Sterlite, locals alleged, was creating pollution. It would have impacted their lives adversely. That is why they were protesting. Sure, the other media did get funding, but it got it in 2008, 2009, 2011, 2012. Why are we connecting to something that happened in 2018, which the locals say is bad for them and we didn't want it?
So how did the locals come up with the finding that this is bad for them? It was an obscure report, actually a PhD thesis, and a very poor quality thesis at that, which was put out by some student at some random university. This was pulled out by activists, not by the locals. This was pulled out by activists who said, there's high incidence of cancers and it's due to Sterlite. And this was this was the beginning of the endless rumors that went around. None of them had any basis in fact. Yes, I'm not denying that there was pollution. It was something that was an issue with the TNPCB, the Tamil Nadu Pollution Control Board. They should have been on the ball. They should have fixed it. They should have forced Sterlite to fix it. That did not happen. Agreed. But this whole emotional, and sort of, what do you call it? Fear mongering, if you want to call it that. All of this happened from the side of the activists. They started it. And then it went, viral amongst the people. Everyone was talking about it. And obviously, everyone's going to get emotional if you think your child is drinking some water that's going to give, it's going to develop cancer. Obviously, people are going to be upset. So this is, it's a very classic kind of thing where you just take something very inconsequential and you say, oh my God, look at this report. Because if you look, Anna University has done a report which says, the pollution levels are not that, that bad. They need to be corrected, but they're not that bad, not fatal. The Tamil Nadu government put out the data on incidence of cancer in Thoothukudi as well as in neighboring districts. And it's pretty much the same. There's no major spike in cancer cases or anything in Thoothukudi. But what do you do when it's fear mongering? It just goes out of hand. And this is precisely how it functions.
All right. Thanks very much for setting the record straight about your investigations. And Ravi Shankar, thank you very much for joining us. But this has taken on political ramifications as well. So let's take it across to our political panel. My first question is to you, Mr. Saravanan, because now even the Home Ministry has told Parliament that we've got complaints against the other media that foreign funding was used in order to damage India's interests through the Sterlite protests. The governor was just saying what the MHA has also told Parliament, Mr. Saravanan.
Yeah, see, nobody can sully the Sterlite protest. Let us not forget that Sterlite was fined 100 crores for polluting the environment there. It's not the first thing. They have been earlier, their executives have been arrested. They have been found evading the duty and so many other things. So entirely different. If some NGOs has for
but the protest there was a genuine protest. It was for the concerns of pollution. Everybody knows that copper smelter plants are the most polluting industries across the world, and none of those big countries, developed countries, allow copper smelter plants in their country. See, look at the way...
If things are so bad, sir, can I please ask you, isn't it a fact that there are people who in 2022 September actually submitted a memorandum to your government saying that we want the plant to be reopened because its closing has destroyed our livelihoods? A pro-Sterlite movement is now being held. And those people are saying we were misled by activists.
See, that's what. It's not for the people. See, when the Supreme Court itself has fined the Sterlite group for polluting the environment, the pollution is there. Nobody can dispute that the copper smelter plant is polluted. I want to come to what the governor has said. He said 40% of the copper plant, copper is got from the Sterlite group. How can you allow this? See, what is important is the livelihood and the life of the people. If 40% of the copper is not this, let us get it outside.
Sir, okay, so here are two separate issues. I will let Sanju Verma answer that. Hold on a second. Here are two separate issues. You are conflating the two of them. No, sir. Hold on a second. I want to ask you a counter question. I will give you time. There are two issues. Is there pollution because of Sterlite? Yes. But that is for the Pollution Control Board to address. That doesn't mean that the plant has to be shut down, and that definitely does not mean that there should be violence allowed. And it definitely does not mean that it should be carried out by a bunch of NGOs who get suspicious funding. I again come back to my original argument. Why is it that you are refusing to acknowledge that there is an NGO who the MHA says has suspicious funding, which was involved in the Sterlite protests?
Yeah. See, the question is entirely different.
This can't be a monologue by the Congress and DMK.
Okay. Please have Mr. Saravanan speaking one at a time. Yes.
Yes. See, that's what I'm trying to say is this. See, it's a polluting plant. Nobody can have any dispute over that. And the governor says 40% of copper is got from smelter and it is affecting India. I'm saying let us pay a little higher price, protect the people there and import it. We are giving lakhs and lakhs of crores to the cronies of the BJP. All those
May I please come in now?
Are being all those loans are being written off.
I'm just going to fix the audio of Saravanan. Sanju Verma, two things. One, can you deny that there was a problem with Sterlite? The Supreme Court fined them. Point number one. Point number two, today the DMK has said the BJP has taken money from Sterlite, so the governor is now batting for them.
You know, I'm surprised, and forgive me, Padmaja, you know, I don't wish to be offensive, for you to be even asking such a question that the BJP has taken money from Sterlite. I mean, this is as ridiculous as it can get. Nonetheless, let me now speak some hard facts, and I don't wish to be heckled because the BJP is not indulged even for 20 seconds. The moment I start speaking, you know, I see the others being allowed to heckle me, and I don't want that to happen today. First and foremost, you need to know how mining approvals are given in India. I do admit that in 2018, right till about 2019-20, the respective state pollution control boards have a big role to play. But because a lot of mining approvals were being politicized, now it's decided that 3 entities will take the decision. And they can override the state pollution control board in any state. One is NEERI, N-E-E-R-I, National Environmental Engineering Research Institute. One is whether the environmental norms comply with the norms of the International Finance Corporation, and India adheres to the IFC norms. Third is the Supreme Court. All the 3 have to sing in the same voice for a mining plant that is closed to restart. Now the NEERI has given, N-E-E-R-I, NEERI has given a clean chit to Sterlite. IFC says, International Finance Corporation, that the plant of Sterlite at Thoothukudi fulfills international environmental obligations. Now this whole thing is pending in front of a 3-judge bench of the Supreme Court since March 2022.
So how do you know that foreign funding is being used to sabotage Sterlite?
Now I will come to that.
Yeah.
You know, he gave a long monologue. Let me complete. So now let us first wait for the judgment by the Supreme Court. It's a 3-judge bench of Justice Vikram Nath, Justice Suryakant and Justice Chandrachud. They will decide. If they decide, the Sterlite plant will open. Now talking about foreign funding, Nityanand Rai, the MOS home, in a response to Naran Bhai Rathwa, a Congress MP, has said that not only is the other media, TOM, getting foreign funding from Catholic organizations based in Netherlands, Germany, Canada and Ireland, but he has put out some very interesting details. He said that while looking through their accounts, it was noticed that while they have said that they have received donations for educational and social purposes, when we browsed through their form FC6, it was found that the donations were not used for educational and social purposes, but were used for environmental and political activism, flouting Section 37 of the FCRA Act 2010 and Rules 4 and Rule 7 of FCRA Rules 2011 of the Government of India. And the most important point, which nobody seems to be making, which your colleague made at the start of the debate. Who's behind this entire environmental activism of Sterlite, which led to its closure 5 years back? It's Nityanand Jayaraman. And do you know something? That Nityanand Jayaraman tried a similar stunt with the Sesagova plants, also owned by Vedanta Group, also owned by Anil Agarwal, and they use the same tactic that environmental pollution is happening in and around Panaji and Goa, but the Goa Pollution Control Board was smart enough to see through the ruse, and the Lakshmikant Parsekar government then in August 2015 allowed all the Sesagova mining plants to be reopened. So it is time for the DMK Stalin government to wake up, smell the coffee. It is not 30,000 jobs. It is 2 lakh jobs which are at a loss.
Mr. Saravanan,
annually we
talk about the funding. Same people, same kind of funding coming from church-backed organizations and trying to shut down plants and factories across India.
See, that's what I want to tell you. There are 2 different things. The foreign funding, if there is any violation, let them take action. That is their remit. So
and that is the point. The point is foreign funding.
Let me
when the governor says that there is suspicious foreign funding, you're calling him an agent of business houses.
Yes, let me complete it. See, we are calling him a business agent of those high businesses because he says 40% of India's copper is produced there. So I'm saying, so what? I'm saying people's lives are more important.
Sir, the question is about the intent of these organizations. They do not care about the environment.
Let me finish.
They are going
Why
after industry that is important for India.
Why do you keep interrupting me like this? Why are you not allowing me to speak? You don't want to have a equal debate? You don't want to hear my voice? Why do you keep interrupting me like this?
Sir, your voice is very, very audible. In fact, yours is the only voice that is audible right now. But the central question is about the suspicious funding. That is the only thing the governor is talking about.
Let us also speak about the other funding. The other funding is this, that the Vedanta group is the biggest funder, one of the biggest funders for the BJP government. Is this the reason why the governor is speaking like this? I am saying...
Sir, what is the logic of that? Then someone can say the largest number of electoral bonds, one of the parties which gets the largest number of electoral bonds is the DMK. This is neither here nor there.
No. We are saying scrap the electoral bonds. That is the only way anybody can fund. We are saying scrap it. We are saying Vedanta.
Again, I do not want to keep shifting the goalpost. My simple point again is, and let me get to Mr. C. Rajashekharan, why is it that there is a hesitance to accept the fact that there have been violations when evidence points to suspicious sources of funding? Provide evidence to the contrary, Mr. Rajashekharan.
Padmaja, first and foremost, we must understand the funding which you are quoting to the tune of 5 lakhs, 3 lakhs, 2 lakhs has nothing to do with the protest which happened in 2018.
How do you know
that? It is 10 years before or 12 years before the funding pattern which you are quoting and referring. No, I am telling you, see, nobody will indulge in this because it was a spontaneous protest from the people of Thoothukudi and the adjacent areas.
Why is it that this organization gets money from Thailand, gets money from Nordic countries, gets money from other church-backed organizations, and then it says we are going to spend it on education, ends up spending it on environmental causes? Why?
Exactly.
This is the problem when somebody is taking funds for education and other things, and it is being politicized by the BJP for their own brownie points. That's what is happening, especially with Tamil Nadu.
How is it being politicized?
Because this protest, Sterlite protest, was with the people of Thoothukudi. I'll tell you how. The church has nothing to do with the protest. It was the people of Thoothukudi and the
church giving money to this organization? Why are all these church organizations from across the world giving money to this NGO sitting in Tamil Nadu? Why?
See, you have to question the NGO, you have to ask the NGO which is taking money. But
that is exactly what the governor is
dots
saying.
Like this,
that we are going to investigate the NGO.
Your own narrative
because the NGO
fair.
is suspicious.
No, the governor is speaking with an agenda. Governor is speaking with an agenda.
What is the agenda?
He should not cross the Lakshman Rekha of the governor's office.
What is the agenda,
sir? He is speaking as a voice. See, let me tell you. A governor... No, it's a political agenda. It is a political agenda which he is speaking on behalf of a political party, which he should do. He is the governor. He should be unbiased, neutral. He should speak for the welfare
of the state. This is a political agenda. What the governor is saying is a political agenda.
Okay, please. No, I did not heckle anybody. Let me make my point in peace.
Definitely, it's a political.
This is not fair. Yeah, thank you, Mr. Rajashekharan. I heard you. Let's be very clear. Padmaja, you have said this, and even the other two panelists, one a DMK spokesperson and the other a DMK sympathizer or empathizer, what have you. They both said that the people of Thoothukudi and the nearby surrounding areas in Tuticorin, they were against the reopening of the Sterlite plant. Now, let me tell you that at the peak of the COVID second wave in 2021, the Sterlite plant was open for 3 months to produce oxygen. And in December 2021, the locals, headed by the people who are employed with the Tuticorin port and the Tuticorin Chemical Welfare Association, have written to the Tamil Nadu Pollution Control Board, we want the Sterlite plant to reopen. We believe that we were misled by some environmental activists and we want our jobs back because 400 downstream units employing close to 1.5 lakh people are adversely affected because the Sterlite plant was closed down for no good reason. I want the DMK spokesperson to tell me here, is it true or not that the Thoothukudi Chemical Welfare Association and the people employed with the Thoothukudi port have written to the Tamil Nadu Pollution Control Board saying that locals want the Sterlite plant to be reopened? Why is MK Stalin not listening now to the local population of Thoothukudi? Answer fair and square.
Okay, respond, Mr. Saravanan.
Yeah, see, first you asked me what is the agenda of the governor. The agenda of the governor is to ensure that the administration of the Tamil Nadu government is destabilized. That is what the governor wants to achieve.
How will an NGO being investigated destabilize you?
No, I am talking the way the governor is acting. The question is, what is the political agenda of the governor? The Prime Minister and the Home Minister are extremely envious of our Chief Minister. The good work he has done. That
Sir,
is the reason,
FCRA violations are being probed. How does that destabilize you? Are you connected to the other media?
Your Prime Minister was also the Chief Minister of a small state. Don't forget that. He was also the Chief Minister of a small state, a failed state. He was not even able to maintain law and order. Now he has become the Prime Minister. So don't have this comparison.
Okay, no heckling, please. Mr. Saravanan, please, let's keep this civil. How can you say that investigating an NGO and investigating motivated protests that happened at least 6 years ago are going to destabilize you?
I am saying the actions of the governor, not just this comment. The political agenda of the governor, stalling the bills, speaking about...
Let's talk about the issue at hand. No, the stalling of the bills is a separate issue altogether.
I am answering that. You are talking about the political agenda of the governor. I am giving you the answer why the governor has a political agenda. He is sent by the Prime Minister and the Home Minister.
Sir, what is the political agenda of this demand? All he's saying is that there are some NGOs who get foreign funding. They should be investigated because it impacts India. Not just your state, not your government, India.
No. See, that's what. I think this bogey has to be cut short. Even the Supreme Court has said, you cannot say just because national security and do whatever you want. Let him say what is India. Copper smelter plant, running copper smelter plant is what India is all about.
Okay, again, you are quoting a very disparate judgment about Media One, where the court said that national security cannot be used in order to curb freedom of media. Here it is simply about an investigation. Do you think, Mr. Saravanan, that if foreign funding is coming into India and is being misused, it should be probed?
You probe. Who is asking you not to probe? We are saying the protest there is by the local people. It is copper smelter plant is a polluting industry. The Supreme Court has fined 100 crores.
Okay.
It is an extremely polluting industry.
I think we are going to end with the consensus. You are saying that if there are anti-India forces, anti-India funding that's coming into the country, then it should be investigated, plain and simple. That's what even the governor is saying. That's what even the MHA is saying. Whether it was done, completely voluntarily by the people of Thoothukudi or whether it was motivated, will be found out in this investigation. Thanks very much, both gentlemen, Sanju Verma, for joining me.